Alright, good morning everybody. Today we are here at some park I forgot the name of with an update video on all the mods we've done to the CF Moto Papio SS. To start off with, let's get the old stuff out of the way. We still got these OEM CF Moto crash bars doing their job. Protected the bike against a low speed washout on gravel a couple weeks back. I was able to just bend the bar back into place because it did bend under the weight of the bike like last time, but it didn't break or anything, so that's always good. Staying on the topic of protection, we got the Crash Industries 12 o'clock bar. This is probably my favorite modification so far just because of the comfort it gives me when I'm actually practicing. It gives me the confidence to actually practice wheelies. I was starting to scare myself every time I brought the front wheel up, and this just gives me the confidence to know if I drop it, I'm not going to completely destroy the bike. I'm not usually a huge fan of 12 o'clock bars or the stunt bike look, but I feel like this really doesn't detract from the main look of the bike at all, and the paint was almost perfectly color matched with the white on the tail, and overall it just makes the bike look really good. Installation was a bit difficult. The fitment is extremely tight, and the holes on the mounting brackets barely align with the mounting points on the frame, but that tightness I feel like also helps it to stay rigid. I think my only real complaint about this crash bar is that it does block the brake lights a little bit, which obviously for safety, that's not the greatest thing, but it's also because they look cool. I mean, come on, look at those back there. My biggest worry with the crash bar was that it wasn't going to fit with the Yoshimura slip-on. I did have to remove it for installation because they do use the same upper mounting brackets, and again, it was an extremely tight fit, but it did end up fitting. You can probably see the little gaps up here, and it ends up working out. And while we're down here, as you guys just saw, we got the Yoshimura RS9 slip-on. Sounds so much better than that AliExpress exhaust we had earlier. It actually fits the vibe of the bike. It doesn't sound like I'm going 80 when I'm actually going 20 just because of how loud and annoying it is. It's not nearly as loud as the AliExpress exhaust, but in general it's just such a more refined sound. Gets rid of all those pops and all the droning. It's just so much better. Here's a short sound clip. Next, I removed the rear fender and license plate mount because if I had learned to wheelie with it still on, it would have just dragged against the ground, broke, or maybe even stopped me from being able to wheelie in general. And as you can see, I already have the plate remounted just using the same bolts as the crash bar, and it's pretty visible for those of you who worry about that. Now, the rear fender that I removed also had the rear turn signals on it, and obviously some people want those. So here's a clip of someone I met who has a Papio CL. He actually used the rear reflector mounts to mount his rear turn signals to the same area where my crash bar is. It's actually super cool, and that's what I would be doing did I not have this crash bar here. A couple of changes from the first mods video. I've actually swapped these mirrors to the other side so they hang upside down, which I think looks way cooler than it does from factory. Here's a little bit of a front view. And as you can imagine, it is a little bit more difficult to see out them just due to them hanging lower. You actually have to look down to see out them, but honestly, I think it's worth the compromise for the looks. It's really not that much more difficult to see out them. We've also reinstalled the stock levers. The contact it made with the fairing at full lock was not confidence inspiring at all, so we've reinstalled these just for comfort's sake, especially in wheelies. We don't want to be worrying about stupid stuff like that and being uncomfortable, you know? Lastly, I want to give a huge thanks to Keith, Cowie Keith from Cynical Productions. He's also got a stunted out Papio SS, which has paid a lot of inspiration to my bike. His socials are linked below. He came up to my shop the other day to help me, or do most of the work really, because I didn't know what I was doing. But he installed the 14-tooth minus 1-tooth front sprocket onto the Papio, just to make it a little bit easier for me to pop that front wheel up while I'm practicing wheelies. And that's about all we have as far as mods in the Papio SS. I'm both excited and sad to say that the build on this bike is pretty much done for now, at least until I get good enough to warrant a rear handbrake. Maybe we got a color change coming in the future, but until then, thank you guys so much for checking out the video, and ride safe, please.